Doing legwork too can result in kind of some pitfalls. So statistics is a real pain, and one can be leery if you're looking at numbers from, say, a college standpoint. A lot of numbers are averages and not median values. A good example would be something like a business degree while we're talking about it. If 100 people get the same degree and the average starting salary for them is almost $40,000 a year, that might sound awesome. And if I said the median pay for that same group was $31,500, the question would come up, which value is more representative of how much I will earn with that degree? Well, the median also weeds out the outliers, and you really see the real middle of the pay scale. In this example, if 5 of 100 graduates were above average or came from rich families and basically got right in as the leader of a business or industry, those 5 might average $200,000 a year salaries, and that's not too far-fetched. Conversely, 5 or so people might average $20,000 a year because they couldn't find a job after they graduated and they're working for $10 an hour. So if you average that all out, you get $39,350 a year, which sounds almost $10,000 a year above what you're likely really going to make. So either focusing on the middle 90 people and discarding the bottom 5 and top 5 would give you better representation, or finding the median, or kind of the average, right in the middle. Hell, you get one good salesman in the oil and gas industry who pulls in nearly $1 million a year for a couple of years and averages that with his or her 100 classmates who might have a median pay of, say, $50,000 a year. What does that skew the average up to? About $59,500 a year. At first glance, that seems far-fetched, but there are plenty of people who roll the die and just kind of get all the right numbers and make astronomical sums of money for short periods of time, and that really allows for cheating statistics. And the averages. The median, if you line up all the salaries in order and pick the salary that was perfectly in the middle, yields you the most accurate or average number. And that's what people do with statistics. They don't use that number. They'll use averages, and it's very misleading. That was a little longer of a tangent, but back to the point. It's human nature to want to be better than average, and in capitalist societies, being better than average is usually measurable by wealth. So that slippery logic progression to wealth isn't a new concept, and what you wind up with is the majority of people all kind of take the easy road, and they all complain at the end of that road when it's a complete dead end. Two big problems here is not only is the market way oversaturated with college graduates, but as mentioned, the quality of a lot of college graduates is severely lacking. So a vast majority of people who leave college have the same degrees, or leave college with the same degrees, are no better intellectually than before they ever went to college. They have debt and are desperate, so will pretty much settle for any job that's handed to them. So job that they're way overqualified for, so they think. There was a book published in 2011 by several researchers who were professors who chronicled about 2,300 undergraduate students, and they showed about 45% of the students showed no significant improvement in various measures of reasoning and logic over their college profession. The survey and data included also has a lot of feedback as well, which kind of backed up the findings that even among the random sampling of college students, a lot of them felt they really took nothing at all away from college compared to what they knew in high school. Now, I am pretty leery of statistics, but the research was very well done and was done in a manner which kind of minimizes bias and tampering. The sample pool was also highly varied from various colleges all over the United States, so it wasn't a specific college with low standards or a specific region, and that kind of backs up what I noticed when I was in college. So roughly half of college graduates don't gain a thing after they graduate, have a lot of debt, aren't competitive in the workforce compared to, say, people who decided to just join the workforce right after high school and actually have work experience. And so now the market is oversaturated with those people. So, how do you form a business plan when there is no positive there? Well, understand where the failure is and see where the success is. So, the end goal of being rich isn't one with a clear path. And if it were that easy, everyone would take that path. Oh wait, they did all try to take that path, but when everyone is rich, then that kind of drags everybody to the same level, and that's new average. So look at topics and fields that actually interest you, and also consider if there's something that you could do. And be honest with yourself. I really like cats, but could I be a veterinarian? Hell no. That would just break me. You don't just sit around and roll around in a kiddie pool filled with kittens, and then you actually more deal with all the bad sides, all the negative connotations, which I'd rather not do. So anyways, find a field and then look into what professionals in that field earn, how competitive the workforce is, the unemployment rates, etc. You might like architecture, let's say, but the field is pretty highly competitive. The average pay is low since the market is way oversaturated and the unemployment is really high. Now, that seems like a pretty big gamble, and we're talking about making a business decision. Also, is there a way of getting into said field without going to college? If you really want to work in cars, it would seem like going to, say, Wyotech or MMI would make sense, as they advertise on TV. So, in a short time, you can have an awesome career. Well, those schools are also grossly overpriced. The quality of the graduate is mediocre. The market is way oversaturated. And then, if you can get the same skills for way less locally, those people are going to get the jobs before you. Schools like those are a total money scam. You might have a guaranteed job after you graduate, but switching floors for $8 an hour isn't ever going to pay down the $40,000 it costs to attend that school. So do a little digging before getting into a field and see kind of it's something as simple as a school awarding a certificate or a degree might not be all it's cracked up to be. Now, think about the realistic numbers. If you could earn $50,000 a year to start in a field and walk away with $50,000 of student loan debt, do you plan on living in New York City where half of your take-home income goes to paying for rent, and after everything else, that's not going to really leave any extra money to pay back that debt? Or are you going to live someplace like somewhere in the South, like Texas, where you can afford a $500 a month, pay $500 a month towards your debt, pay $800 a month towards rent, and still have $1,800 a month to pay all your other bills, food, etc.? Well, then you're okay. If you have clear direction, goals, and milestones, you put yourself head and shoulders above everyone else, and the odds will be in your favor. It's like the Hunger Games. So don't expect the school to look out for your best interest or assume low unemployment and high median salaries for a certain degree until simply getting said degree. I mean, that's not always the case. So let me dig into my undergraduate path a bit. I had worked for about 10 years after high school, and I knew a lot about what I did want to do, and I knew a lot what I didn't want to do. I thought I wanted to go down a couple different career paths, but examining it, as I had mentioned before, they were all either dead-end paths or just ultimately something I didn't feel like I could really accomplish. I had a friend, meanwhile, who had a mechanical engineering degree, and I spoke with him a lot to kind of understand what the schooling was like, and then I saw what he did with that degree after he graduated, and I saw kind of how the doors opened up. The more I looked into the data, it was very reliable, and it was kind of a slam dunk move in my case. So if you do it right, it all works out. So I buckled down, did a degree in 4 years. I managed my money, and additionally, I packed as much as I could in during that 4 years. I not only pursued a nuclear engineering degree, but was highly active in a relevant engineering student organization. So I didn't just join ASME, the American American Society of Mechanical Engineers, as the college level of that organization is a complete frickin' joke. The organization I was in was one of just a handful, just a very few, which actually involved designing, building, testing, and completing full-size vehicles, which require some serious application of engineering skills. And it was one of only a handful of engineering organizations at the college level that industry professionals actually recognized and actively scouted out students for jobs. So not only did I really focus on my studies, I got good grades and I received grants and scholarships. It's kind of a closed loop. I moved up and actually became the president of said organization and was even involved with another organization for the nuclear engineering side of things. So I did graduate in 4 years. I was approached by no less than about half a dozen different recruiters before graduation for jobs. Um, I was able to decrease my college costs by half from grants and scholarships, and I had a degree and experience to lessen my risk in the college degree gamble. So it was hell, and there was stretches when I would probably average about 2 to 3 hours a night for weeks, and that's honest. I also didn't work more than for more than half that time, which some people view as dumb. But when I did the math, it actually worked out. It would have cost me money to actually work like a part-time job for most of that. So in the end, from a money standpoint, how did it all pan out for me? Is my average delta in earning potential $10,000 more a year, or is it maybe $20,000 a year? No, it's about $40,000 a year, and that's conservative. I didn't work during a bulk of that, but grants and scholarships really offset those. Those benefits would not have been possible if I spent that time working for just some part-time job instead of spending that time focused on working on my schoolwork or organizational things. Also, I could jeopardize getting hit on the FAFSA for pulling in too much money, which I had happen my first semester. If you make more than about $15,000 a year, you can pretty much kiss financial aid goodbye. So I was able to be kind of in an above average position than my peers, and it's not because I'm a genius or anything. There are plenty of people I surrounded myself by who just blew me away by how freaking intelligent they were. And it's amazing to me how they really didn't really have to try half as hard as I did. I did well, honestly, because I forced myself to really hammer out the material and accomplish everything on my plate. I sacrificed sleep and social activities, and my organization duties really took up pretty much the rest. Hey, 4 years in the grand scheme of things is just kind of a blip. It's just a drop in the bucket if it's going to increase or make the next 50 years of your life better. So again, my earning potential is probably more than $40,000 a year, as I was making pretty good money before college from moving up the ladder, and the cost of living where I was at was quite a bit more than where I wound up. So had I based that delta off of a more accurate average, my average earning potential would probably be past $50,000 a year. Anyway, so if I finished up with $50,000 of debt, as I didn't really have any support from my parents, so every single expenditure from automotive repairs and maintenance, health insurance, food, tuition, and books over the summer when I wasn't working was all tossed into the equation. So that's somewhat respectable. So my ROI is 4 years of lost revenue at, say, $40,000 a year, which is roughly what I was making before, a year plus $50,000 of debt, interest that loan of roughly $7,000 because when you earn more money, you can pay down the debt faster, leaves me with a grand total of about $217,000. And dividing that by $40,000 a year delta leaves an ROA of 5.4 years. Figuring I was about 10 years older than the typical college student, that leaves a good 35 years of work potential. And with a delta of $40,000 a year, that adds up to $1.4 million. Subtract the $217,000, and that leaves $1,183,000 of earning potential above my non-college graduate self in the field that I took. Now, work will pay for a master's degree, which I could do in my own time, which I would probably throw in another 10K delta on my earning potential. And if I figure I have 30 years of earnings at that rate, then that brings my additional lifetime earnings up to a total of $1.5 million. Now, those are some pretty freaking good numbers. I minimized my risk by doing a lot of legwork up front, really buckled down in that short time, and crammed in as much as possible. And my earnings so far have actually far exceeded my initial estimates. Oh, and I actually enjoy what I do for work. I have so much more freedom, and there are some kind of difficult to justify or chart out perks, such as the money I'm getting to invest now, uh, the additional money I'm getting for 401ks, my IRAs, and then there's weird benefits like paid for international travel for business. I mean, what's that? It's a win-win. So the average college student anymore is really below average compared to how college used to be. I could be considered above average in my earning potential now. If the average college student were ever to get back from its former glory, then I'd truly be representative of the average earning potential college student. So in my case, having a lifetime earning potential over $1 million compared to that of just a simple high school graduate really isn't a fluke or atypical. If you weed out the people who should have never gone to college, then my estimates are probably fairly typical. So my earning potential is really average. So I hope I've come somewhat full circle on this. All the relatives that I have that have kids that are kind of graduating high school around this time, and they all plan on packing their bags and going to college, I usually strongly discourage pretty much every one of them from doing so. Everyone has that I have to go to college after high school mentality, and the blind masses just perpetuate that, and they're just dragging the system down as well as one another. On the other hand, friends I have who either have never done anything with his or herself, or they went to college and they went down a college path that was just led to failure, but they consider going back to college and actually doing it right, I highly encourage those people. College isn't an all or nothing thing as it used to be. The options listed are either go to college or don't go to college, and the latter is generally frowned upon. Well, if people treat it as they used to treat it and actually aim on using college as a tool to better oneself, then it can be a great tool. But if you treat college as owing you something for simply attending, you're going to be very disappointed. So the last direction I'll go here are options after high school. Options which aren't college. Most people well off that I know never stepped foot in college. Between people that took up trade or they moved up to operating a business and then winding up being worth millions of dollars, or people who kind of leapfrogged up corporate ladders by making contacts and building their skill sets along with their contact base. A lot of them love what they're doing and never think twice about higher learning. If you don't know what you want to do after high school, then don't go to college, because that's what you're supposed to do. Work for a couple of years and find yourself, or find what you don't want yourself to be, and then make a plan to get to where you want to be. You can jump immediately into the whole college thing and then throw away 15 years of your life just trying to dig yourself out of the hole, or you can spend about 5 years and personally grow, and then you can ultimately make the move to get to where you want to be. I grew way more in the 10 years out of high school, working my way up doing technical work, which required special training and certification. I did a little bit of managerial work in there. I worked with staffs of people underneath me. I worked physically demanding labor type jobs, etc. And it made me a very well-rounded and appreciative of the people who are in those fields person. And it's very humbling to see others who also used to break their backs and also were able to improve his or herself. And I mean, in the end, it made me realize what I wanted to do, as well as allow me to really kind of plan out how to get there. In my case, the plan involved college. But college is a case-by-case thing, not something you simply do after high school. So, I mean, I hope they kind of illuminated things. And if you're in that position where you're just going to go to college because that's what you do after high school, I hope you really kind of rethink things and re-look at the system and see if the plans you have are actually going to work out, or if maybe you're pursuing a dead end. Thank you for your time.